My fellow Americans, this is an SOS Mayday emergency request from a newly forming organization in San Diego called PODOT, Protect Our Democracy Against Totalitarianism. We have been following a situation that the mainstream media has completely, totally ignored. We feel that we have the smoking documentation and information to prove that the military-industrial complex and the forces of darkness are now about to engage and implement the most gross invasion of privacy in the history of the world. Invasion of privacy that Hitler, Stalin, Lenin, Castro, Pol Pot, etc., in their wildest imaginations could never conceive of. I'm saying that very soon, your life is no longer going to be your secret. You're about to go under a 24/7 surveillance. Everywhere you go, everything you do, everything you buy, is going to be analyzed. Let me break this down a little more. In 1994, a law was passed titled Megan's Law. The law where it said that if you were a child molester, you had to go on a public registry. All right. It's a good law. I voted for the law. I thought it was great. Who wants to have a child molester living, in their neighborhood without you knowing about it? Sounded good. What is happening is 10 years later, Megan's Law, which started out as a law to monitor child molesters, has now morphed. It's done a 360 degree. You can now become labeled a sex offender for pissing, for public urination, for skinny dipping, for mooning. You have to go to the website and see how we've documented where Megan's Law, which started out for child molesters, has now totally morphed to the most minor sexual infractions. What we are documenting on our website is that Megan's Law was basically the run-up. It was a test case for you being on a public profile. The infrastructure has now been built. It's now in place. It is now just a matter of time before you're placed on the same profile, the same surveillance infrastructure that is placed on sex offenders. Now, what's behind this? The military-industrial complex, you must understand, owns the GPS tracking satellites and the infrastructure. They basically own the internet. The internet is a creation of the military-industrial complex. Now, the playhouse of your mind, I want you to think about this. Can you imagine the multi-trillions of dollars that can be made if every single American is placed on a 24/7 surveillance network? Think about this. We're talking trillions of dollars for this to be done. This is what's happening. This is what's being engaged. We're trying to stop this. We're trying to put forth a proposition in California titled Prop SOS, which will make it illegal for unauthorized GPS tracking of anybody, for putting anybody on public profiles or even business profiles or government profiles. You have to understand, you're fixing to go on a website. The content of this website is going to be your life, everything you do, everything you own. It's beyond imagination. We have got it documented on the website here. I know this sounds very disturbing, but you must go to the website and see the documentation, see what's going on, see what's happening. We're also asking you to join us, help us stop this. If you look back at history of surveillance and how we Americans lose our liberties, you'll notice it always starts off with the criminal. Let me give you a little timeline parallel here. In 1966, the government set up this giant computer called NCIC, which stands for National Criminal Investigation Center. The American people were told that, hey, we're going to put all the criminals on this giant computer in Washington so we can watch them, monitor them, and protect you from them. Unfortunately, we have to use their Social Security number. Understand, in 1966, the Social Security card had not for identification purposes on it. Within 5 years, you could get a parking ticket and be placed on NCIC. When the Vietnam War came along and all the protesters and all Shazam, all these protesters are then placed on NCIC. As you can see, NCIC started off with just hardened criminals, and then it expanded. Pretty soon everybody was on NCIC. And then the phone companies got in the act with databasing. The power grid got in the act. Pretty soon everybody's databasing everybody under their social security number. It was not challenged. Then in 1974, President Nixon signed a law stating, well, you know, the social security card is still not for identification purposes, but now we're going to pass a law that when your child turns 6 years old, before she can go into school, she has to have a social security card. Understand, prior to that, when you're 18, you got your social security card. Well, let's fast forward to now. Now your social security card, it's basically your number. You can't buy anything, you can't sell anything. I mean, you're basically this number. Technically, you could change your name to your social security number and be Mr. 666 1984. So what PDOT is trying to show you, and what we're trying to show you on our website, is how all these laws start off with the bad guys, with the criminals, and then it morphs. Case in point, gun laws. All these gun laws started off with the bad guys, with the crooks. And then we know, fast forward 20 years, everybody's under it. Take fingerprinting. 100 years ago, when fingerprinting first came out, it was strictly for criminals. Criminals only. Now everybody's fingerprinted. Your DNA, same thing. The government says, well, we're just going to take the DNA of criminals. And it went the same way as with NCI. Now, you know, you get a parking ticket, well, yeah, we're going to take your DNA. Now, the kids, the schools, I mean, can you realistically tell yourself that one day you will not walk into a DMV and they're going to want a DNA sample? So what we're trying to do as an organization and with our prop is show you through smoking gun documentation where it starts off with the bad guys, and then it morphs eventually, in a matter of time, it morphs over to the general population. NCIC is now really National Civilian Investigation Center. You are now on this database, which started off for criminals. You're now about to be on the same database surveillance infrastructure that started off with sex offenders. It's now morphing over to you. You like this? You can sit back and do nothing, and then one day you're going to be a big star on a hidden website somewhere, being watched by who? Who knows? Also, the Megan's Law has now jumped. It's not, we documented on the website. It has now jumped to 2 more registries. They've now set up an arsonist registry. Okay, everybody's afraid of arsonists. Well, so am I. You can now get on this arsonist registry for not putting out your campfire at a park fast enough, or throwing a lit cigarette out of a car. Now you're on an arsonist database. They've also set one up for drug dealers. Well, yeah, I mean, drug dealers. Yeah, everybody hates drug dealers. Well, if you go to the drug dealer registration database, now you can see you have people on here for illegal prescription of Viagra and possession of pot. We also document on the site that there are now 15 more of these registrations coming out. Folks, you know, you're not going to like this, but we're in a parallel with Nazi Germany. When Hitler was in office, the first thing he did is he said, I want everybody categorized in Germany. I want everybody categorized. Jews, Christians, gypsies, homosexuals. We are fixing to be categorized on these websites and then monitored by GPS. As you probably know, GM has been bought by the government. GM has a thing called OnStar. You ever heard of OnStar? If you're driving a GM car with OnStar, there's a record of everywhere you go, everywhere you stop, everything you do, OnStar records it. This is fixing to be made mandatory on all vehicles. Regardless if you got a Toyota or a Honda, you know where you're on. Also on the website, you'll see the new Social Security card. This is mind-boggling. Technically, this is classified information. The new Social Security card is going to have your picture. It's going to have a picture, a barcode. It's going to have your DNA samples on it. It's going to have an RFID chip and a GPS chip in it. So basically, it'll be mandated that you must carry this Social Security card on you, and they'll know everything about you, where you're going, what you're buying. Also, are you aware that 210 census workers are now GPS triangulating your home? That's right. You're already on GPS. So go to the website, www.propsos.tk. No com. PROPSOS.tk. Do it.